The group stage has come to an end. It's over. Who's in? Who's out? Who's heading to Thursday night football? Let's get it. Oh yeah, I'm Adrian, and this is Rabona TV. Welcome. Group A. Nothing of much excitement to report on here, as the only thing to decide was where Braga and Galatasaray would finish, the bottom two teams. Poor Braga and Galatasaray were playing Real Madrid and PSG respectively on their final match day, so nothing changed. PSG took no prisoners against Galatasaray, with Mbappe and Neymar getting a goal and 2 assists each. Icardi and Sarabia were the other scorers before them. Icardi has scored 11 in 15 appearances for PSG now, which are great numbers for him. But, we always knew he would work out at PSG. The service around him is too good to fail, with the likes of Bernat, Di Maria, Neymar, Mbappe, etc. And later, Edinson Cavani was allowed to take a penalty. Can you believe it? And the man converted it. His third of the season. Come to Montreal, man. We need a striker, and Piatti will keep you well fed. 5-0 PSG. Real Madrid went away to Braga and fielded a heavily rotated side. Last time these two played, there were some difficulties for Real Madrid, while this time, at least in the second half, no problems. Goals from young boys Vinicius and Rodrigo, also credit an assist to Rodrigo in setting up Vinicius. Those two are the future of Real's attack, working well together. Later, Luka Modric added a third, but for me, the big worry has been Luka Jovic. The guy has either been injured or in poor form or can't get past Benzema, who is having an amazing season. 77 minutes for Jovic in this one, and he missed one huge opportunity. Not much to speak of for him. Not a good performance. Anyway, Real Madrid are in good shape in second place behind PSG, while Braga hold on to third, and Galatasaray will want to forget about this Champions League campaign. 2 points, only 1 goal scored. Over in Group B, Bayern Munich vs Tottenham was a nothing match again. Both teams already knew that they were through and what position they were going through in. Bayern in first, Tottenham in second. Mourinho didn't risk a few of his starters and took the opportunity to rest players and give playing time to others. Coman scored in the 13th minute as a deflected through ball fell nicely for him to slot past Gazzaniga. He later got injured though, which is a worry for him. Ryan Sessegnon, a rare start for him, later equalized for Tottenham. Solid strike, another deflected through ball. But what a way to get your first goal for Spurs. Away to Bayern Munich, not bad. However, goals from Müller and Coutinho would give Bayern the 3-1 win. Son came close for Spurs towards the end of the second half, but at no time did Bayern look like they were in trouble. Oh yeah, and Bayern become just the 7th team to win every single match in their group, going 6-0, scoring 24 and conceding just 5. So the real fight in this group was to see who would take the Europa League spot, with Olympiakos hosting Red Star with 3rd place on the line. Things looked good for the visitors. In the 40th minute, when Marco Marin was taken down in the box, up stepped Tomane, and he ripped it off the bar. But not in, just off the bar, 0-0 at the half. Oof, wasted opportunity. Olympiakos went back to dominating in the second half. El Arabi hit the bar, and then in the 87th minute, he gave Olympiakos the win and a spot in the Europa League by converting his penalty. 1-0 Olympiakos, who will finish 3rd with Spurs and Bayern ahead of them, and Red Star, of course, behind them. Group C, Manchester City had already qualified, so their match away to Zagreb was nothing but a formality, whereas Dynamo still had a chance to make it through. So when Dani Olmo, a player who is rumored to be wanted by City, put the hosts ahead just 10 minutes in, you could forgive the Dynamo fans for dreaming a little bit, as the way things were at the moment, that would have seen them through to the knockout stages. But it didn't stay like that for long, as Riyad Mahrez, quietly having a great season, picked out Gabriel Jesus at the back post and he headed past Livakovic. Dynamo were annoyed as they had a player down and City didn't kick the ball out. Not their duty to. It's the referee's duty to do so if it's a head injury. Not kick it out himself, obviously, but blow it down. Anyway, in the second half, City continued their dominance as you would expect, with Gabriel Jesus rounding out his hat-trick, then Phil Foden grabbing a goal to add to his assist from earlier. Man of the match performance for Foden, surely, if Gabriel Jesus hadn't been so clinical. So in the other match, Atalanta went away to Shakhtar, knowing that anything less than a win would mean they are eliminated. Well, Atalanta really showed up this time. They started their Champions League campaign quite poorly. Only 1 point for the first 4 matches. But you wouldn't know it judging from this away performance. Castagne scored in the 66th, a call which was contested and eventually went to VAR check for offside. Take a look here. This is about as tight as you can get with the studs of the Shakhtar defender playing Gomez on side. That's a tough one for Shakhtar there, but I guess onside is onside. Even though if you stare at this for long enough, you could probably convince yourself that it was offside, even though right now it just looks onside. I don't know. Another tough one was the red card that was given to Dodo in the 77th minute, especially considering Muriel maybe could have been sent off for a second yellow for Atalanta, but Dodo, he did a no-no. He swiped out, albeit softly, to get a second yellow. A bit unfortunate, as it was soft, but it was stupid of him to even make the hand movement in the first place. He had himself to blame. From there, Shakhtar completely lost control of the match, giving up goals like the terrible third one that they leaked and ensuring that they would finish just 1 point behind Atalanta. So, Atalanta jump over their opponents to steal second from them, meaning they advance alongside the group winner City, while Shakhtar are heading to the Europa League. What a turnaround from Atalanta, man. 1 point from their opening 4 fixtures, and then they make it through. The lowest point total from the opening 4 matches that any team that has gone through has accrued in the history of the competition. That's wild. Group D. Leverkusen hosted Juventus, and the Germans needed a win and Atletico Madrid to fail in order for them to get through to the next round. A tall order, to be sure. But with the form that Juve is in at the moment, perhaps not results-wise, but as far as general play goes, you would think that Bayern had a chance. But no, they came close on a few occasions, but a squared ball from Dybala to Ronaldo made it 1-0 in the second half, Ronaldo's second of this group stage, and a late Higuain goal gave Juve the 2-0 win in Germany. I find the result flatters Juve just slightly, and the loss basically condemned Bayern to third place, no matter the result of the other match. By the way, the other match saw Atleti host Lokomotiv, one of the worst teams in the competition for the second year running, equaling their point total of 3 from last season and finishing bottom, just like last season as well. How? Well, Atleti took a first half lead with a penalty from João Felix. He actually won them a penalty earlier, but Trippier's penalty was tipped off the woodwork by Kochenkov. So João Felix showed him how it's done, then later Philippe swung a leg at Koke's beautiful cross, 2-0 Atletico, job done. They even had a goal disallowed due to offside. Comfy match for them in the end. Final standings. Juve take top with Atletico right behind them, Leverkusen dropping to Europa, and Lokomotiv in last. Group E, there was some sorting out to do, and Napoli sorted themselves out to get their first win in about a month and a half against Genk. Genk's 17-year-old keeper handed Napoli the lead inside 2 minutes when Milik moved the fastest on the young man's error. Milik would add a couple more to sort out a first half hat-trick. In the second half, Mertens converted another penalty to make it 4-0, and there wasn't much joy in this for Genk. I mean, they had a couple close opportunities in the first half that either missed or were saved by Murray, and a few more in the second, but they weren't great in the finishing department. So, Napoli secured their place, but in the same night that they won 4-0 to advance, Carlo Ancelotti was also sacked by the club. That's a big yikes. I have a video on that if you want to see what exactly happened this season with Napoli. You should be able to click up here. Lots of turmoil at that club. Liverpool also needed a result to keep their hopes alive, knowing that a draw would be enough for them to go through. Even a loss, depending on the circumstances, would have been fine. And Salzburg certainly gave them all that they could handle. I was very impressed with Salzburg. Again, well, I mean, most of you know that they have been impressing me for a while now, all the way back to their Europa League run from a couple of seasons ago under Marco Rose. But if they had some better finishing from Horland and some others, perhaps Salzburg would have got a decent result against the defending champions. Regardless, the class of Liverpool shines through eventually, just as it has all season long thus far, and they got their opener from Naby Keita as he headed into a yawning goal in the 57th minute. Then, just a minute later, Mo Salah doubled Liverpool's lead with a brilliant finish from one of the most acute angles. Salah had much easier finishes that he squandered earlier in this match, so it was funny to see him score that goal of all the chances he had. Hwang Hee-chan and Horland were fun to watch out there, as was Minamino, and Salzburg were quite deserving of their third place finish. They gotta be kicking themselves for those matches against Napoli. Speaking of which, Liverpool finished top of their group with Napoli right behind them. Salzburg will instantly be contenders in the Europa League, and Genk will be shifting focus to domestic football. Group F. Barcelona were already through, while Inter and Dortmund had work to do. Hate unintentional rhymes. Anyways, for their part, Borussia Dortmund played Slavia Praha at home. Last time these two played in Prague, it was a very difficult match for Dortmund, despite them winning 2-0. And it wasn't much easier at home either. I gotta say, Slavia really surprised me. They may be one of the most welcome surprises of this competition's group stage. I had written them off. I think a lot of them had, even their own staff. Remember the draw, that meme that we got from the draw of one of their directors or board members or whatever reacting to being in the group with Dortmund, Barcelona, and Inter? Ugh.
What, bro? They finished last with 2 points. How can you say they've been a welcome surprise?
I know. Their record doesn't look great, but they didn't make it easy for anyone to beat them in this group. They conceded only one more goal than Inter and made things dreadfully difficult for both Dortmund and Barcelona respectively, as well as Inter at the San Siro. So shout out to Slavia, but they lost again. 2-1 there. So Dortmund secured 10 points, and Inter playing at home in front of over 70,000 supporters. Could they get it done against this Barcelona team with the likes of Carlos Perez, Carlos Elena, Arturo Vidal, Jean-Claire Tobido, and Moussa Wagué, all in the starting 11? No, they couldn't, as Inter have been falling short of their expectations a bit in the Champions League. Even with their first team on the pitch, up against this group of second and in some case third-string Barcelona players, they bottled it. Barca actually scored first in the 23rd minute through Carlos Perez, but before the half was up, Lukaku equalized. Now, I know that possession isn't everything in football and you can still control the game even if you aren't keeping the ball for long stretches of time, but I would have expected Inter to try to force the issue a little more with Barcelona, no? Like, I get that they are a counter-attacking Conte team, but still, dominated in that department by this Barcelona team. Anyway, a couple of big chances blown by Inter via Lukaku led to substitute Ansu Fati scoring what was the winner for Barcelona in the 86th minute. Massive goal for the kid as he became the youngest scorer ever in the Champions League at just 17 years and 194 days old. Meaning, well, first of all, great achievement. But second of all, the standings. Inter drop out in third, so they'll be playing Europa League football come February of 2020. Yikes, but hey, at least they will be considered a favorite, I guess. Barcelona finished top, impressive given the team they fielded. Dortmund second and Slavia bottom. Okay, Group G, we start with Lyon taking on RB Leipzig at home. And considering they absolutely needed a result to get through in the top two and they were playing at home, Lyon were pretty casual in this match, especially in the first half. That casual start saw them go 2-0 down in the first half as RB Leipzig scored via a penalty from Werner and a penalty from Forsberg. The penalty boys, penalty bros. But come the other side of half, and Lyon were a totally different team. Rudy Garcia got a reaction almost right away as Lyon scored in the 50th via Awar, but they would still need another goal if they wanted to go through. And they would need some help from Benfica as well. More on them later. Time goes on, the match opens up even more, and in the 82nd minute, a ball into the box isn't dealt with well at all by Leipzig's defense, and Depay smashed an equalizer into the bottom corner. What a night for Lyon. 2-2, but was the draw enough? Well, over in Lisbon, in the Zenit versus Benfica match, Benfica was already eliminated from the knockout rounds of the Champions League, but could still get into Europa League if Lyon didn't win, and Benfica won by a few goals. There are some other scenarios as well, as you'll see. The first half comes and goes with Benfica finally playing well in the Champions League. Mind you, we were decent against Leipzig until the end of that last match as well. But isn't it funny how when we finally take this competition seriously and don't start our second stringers and U18 team, we do all right? Isn't that funny? We started the second half well with Servi grabbing a goal. That's goals in consecutive matches for the guy who was apparently a goner this summer, if you were to believe all of the media. Then, a Douglas Santos handball gave Pizzi the opportunity to double our lead from the penalty spot, which he did do. I thought the penalty was the right call, but the yellow card was perhaps a little bit harsh. Not that I'm complaining or anything, but I don't know, it didn't seem as deliberate. But what was the nail in the coffin for Zenit was when a corner was whipped in and Sardar Azmoun's whack attempt at clearing it just steered it past Kurtzakov into the Zenit goal. An OG was their undoing in the end, despite Zenit being limp as hell all match. They had 3 attempts and only 1 on target, which meant that Leipzig went through with Lyon right behind them, and Zenit, with the goals conceded, doesn't even get third. They went from second to last in just 45 minutes. Benfica take their place in the Europa League. Hey, I'll take it, man. Benfica arrived 3 months late to this competition, and I believe we could have advanced if we had taken the competition seriously like we should have. Look at this tweet. It highlights it perfectly. Had we taken it seriously from the start, or at the minimum hung on in Germany and Leipzig hadn't scored a 96th minute equalizer, we would be through. That's pretty frustrating to think about. My sympathy to Ajax fans as well. Coming into the final match day, there was much to do in order to sort out who was advancing and who was going to the Europa League, with Ajax, Valencia, and Chelsea all in the running. Chelsea, they had the relatively simple task, at least in theory, of taking on Lille at home, a little side that had just a single point from their opening 5 matches and had scored 3 goals. That's it. Well, Pulisic was certainly in the mood, causing problems all night for Lille, but just pulled his one good opportunity wide. Tammy Abraham did not, however, in the 19th minute, as he was picked out by Willian and had one of his easiest finishes of the season. A great goal to showcase his poaching abilities and knack for positioning. About 15 minutes later, and Cesar Azpilicueta scored his 2nd goal of this Champions League journey, which is as many as Ronaldo scored in the group stage, which is quite the achievement. But in the second, despite Chelsea still controlling most of the match, their former player Loic Remy smashed one off of the bar and in. My favorite kind of goal, to make it 2-1. In fact, towards the end of the match, he nearly tied it up, but his effort was pretty scuffed, straight into Kepa's arms. So, Chelsea went through, no problem, and Lille already knew they would be bottom, no matter the result. So, Ajax, well, they just needed a draw in order to advance, that's it. And they started the match quite well. Valencia came to Amsterdam to try to hurt Ajax on the counter and disrupt their passing play, and with what was their first real chance of the match, Rodrigo latched onto Ferran Torres' slotted through ball and ripped it into the roof of the goal. 1-0 Valencia, and how would Ajax react? Well, not with a goal. They ended up losing 1-0 at home against Valencia, which means we will not be seeing Ajax in the Champions League knockout rounds. Ziyech will be scream-crying himself to sleep, man. Wow. A couple of opportunities that he blew. I mean, the warning signs were there. Some were pointing to them getting robbed against Chelsea and shifting the blame on those matches and the referees, but you can't do that. This one, for me, falls on Ajax. Last season, they failed to beat Real Madrid, Tottenham, and Juventus at home in the knockout rounds. And this season, they lost to Chelsea and Valencia at home in the group stage. On top of that, this past weekend, at home against Willem II, they lost 2-0. So far this season, all of their losses have come at home. They are yet to lose on the road. Can't take the pressure of playing in front of their own fans, perhaps? I don't know. Who knows? But like Inter, they will immediately be considered a favorite to win the Europa League, maybe even the favorite, depending on who you ask. I would say they're the favorite. Yeah. But wow, massive credit to Valencia. I thought they would be dropping to Europa League when I first saw this group, but they flipped the script. They made it through somehow despite sacking their coach at the beginning of the season. So, I will be going through all of my predictions in another video later today to see how I did and react to any whack predictions I may have made, and we'll celebrate the ones I got right and laugh at the ones I got wrong. Thanks for watching, love ya, and I'll see you very soon. Peace.